Good morning. I'm Shilpa Joy.
I'm 𝗍𝗃𝗍, and we are from St. Joseph's College, Devagiri. The topic for our presentation today is Poetic Futurity, Envisioning Trans Narratives as Technopoetic Utopia. To give an overview, we'll be introducing the topic, followed by our literature review, and we'll be providing theoretical framework, followed by the objectives and method that we have used. And then we'll further go on to give the analysis and also a discussion followed by conclusion and recommendation for further research. So to introduce our topic, in the evolving discourse of transgender identities, the intersection of technology and poetics offer a compelling avenue for exploring queer futurity. The reader here is intentionally prompted to form interpretations through the contrast of seemingly introspective personal imagery with external and objective fragments of language. Trans-feminine experiences, often relegated to the periphery, offer profound insights into the resilience and richness of the human spirit in the face of systemic adversities. So our study embarks on a journey into the intricate landscape of transgender identities in Kerala, focusing on trans-feminine experiences particularly. We employ a methodological approach that intertwines poetic inquiry with qualitative analysis, and this study draws upon data from focus group discussions with trans-feminine participants, delving into their experiences with self-acceptance, incidents of hostility, repudiation, agency, and relationships. Now, moving further to our literature review, where we looked at existing literature in the particular field, we identified certain key areas according to which we can go about studying this topic. Firstly, we looked at how poetic inquiry is used to share experiences among gender minority groups, as it gives a very unique methodological challenge to express their expressions in a manner that is non-threatening to the participants at often times. We also identified certain sections like queer theoretical frameworks and critiques, and poetry and representation. The third category we identified is archives and emotional resonance, followed by identity and autobiography. So we explored certain works that are prominent in the area. To start with, in queer theoretical frameworks and critiques, we looked at Sara Ahmed, whose works largely focus on how heteronormativity provides comfort and scripts of heteronormative culture. We also looked at works of Lee Edelman, whose works critique reproductive futurism and challenges the positioning of queerness outside the normative consensus of fighting for children. So, the very urge of reproductive futurism to define gender is being critiqued by Lee Edelman. And we also looked at certain prominent works of Michael Snyder and Jose Munoz. So their idea of queer futurity and queer optimism is something that we have further used as a theoretical framework for our study also. And then we also saw works of Heather Love and Lisa Dugan. So their work prominently discusses the negative aspects of queer representations, particularly of queer experiences, like how injury and negativity is represented. Also, Lisa Dugan's work introduces the concept of new homonormativity, which critiques the assimilation of queer identities into certain mainstream norms. Our second category was to study about poetry and representation. Here we prominently looked at works of Garcia Montero, Jonathan Mayhew, and Andrea Garcia. So Montero's poetry of experience is seen as something where poets are represented as representative citizens, whereas in the works of Jonathan Mayhem, he criticizes the poetry of experience for its narrow definition of normality and its exclusion of social marginality. Now, moving further to Garcia's work, we can see that their work examines queer identities in poetry and the depiction of futures through the desire for social freedom and inclusion. Now, the third category that we looked at was archives of uh, queer poetry along with emotional resonance. So there is a prominent work by 𝗏𝗏 who views cultural text as emotional archives, capturing the vibrancy of queer cultures. And when we were studying identity and autobiographic works of queer writers, particularly trans-feminine writers, we saw there's a prominent work by Robert Richmond Ellis and Irina Castro. So their work discusses the focus of gay lesbian autobiographies on recovering and realizing repressed potential selves, and also how queer autobiographies often aim to destabilize sexual and gender identities. So after doing this extensive literature review, we found that for the purpose of our study, the framework of queer futurity and optimism as put forth by Snyder and Munoz would be perfectly fit for our particular study. And to give a more context to this, in Munoz's influential book titled Cruising Utopia, the Then and There of Queer Futurity, that was published in the year 2009, he categorizes queerness in three profound ways that challenge our understanding of the present and inspire visions of the future. Now, let's see what are these three ideas that he put forth. First is the rejection of here and now. Now, in Munoz's books, he quotes that essentially about the rejection of a here and now and an insistence on potentiality or concrete possibility of another world. So the idea basically talks about the rejection of present, which is queerness is not content with the current state of the world. It rejects the limitations and injustices of the present moment. Instead of settling for what it is, queerness looks towards what it possibly could be. It insists on imagining and striving for a distant, different, better world where more possibilities for existence and acceptance are available. There is also the vision for another world. This is a perspective that emphasizes the need to envision and work towards concrete changes that can lead to a more inclusive and equitable future. Secondly, Munoz's books also talks about the feeling that something is missing in the current state of affairs. Now, to give an instance where this is prominently said, he quotes that the thing that lets us feel that this world is not enough, that indeed something is missing. So the dissatisfaction that queerness embodies a sense of dissatisfaction, a feeling that the current world is insufficient or that it lacks certain things. It also makes us acutely aware that something crucial is missing in our society, whether it's acceptance, whether it's regard to representation or freedom per se. Now, there is also this feeling that propels us to seek out what is absent and strive for a world that fulfills these unmet needs and desires. Thirdly, Munoz also quotes in another instance a structuring and educated mode of desiring that allows us to see and feel beyond the quagmire of the present. So here he talks about a structured desire, that queerness is not just a vague longing, it is structured and educated way of desiring. It shapes how we envision and aspire for the future. Seeing beyond the present as it enables us to look past the limitations and challenges of the present. Now, in essence, Munoz's books categorizes queerness is also an invitation for us to reject the limitation of the present and to feel the absence of what should be and desire a future that transcends current realities. Now, queerness in this particular framework can be used as a powerful force of potentiality and futurity that pushes towards imagining and creating a more just and inclusive world. Now, in a book called Pure Optimism, Lyric Personhood and Other Felicitous Persuasions, Michael Snyder introduces the concept of pure optimism. Now, unlike traditional notions of optimism that hinge on the promise of a better future, pure optimism does not demand that future fulfill its hopes. Instead, it finds value and interest in the present moment. Snyder here emphasizes that this form of optimism is about appreciating and exploring the potential of joy and satisfaction embedded within the present, without the expectation that future events will necessarily improve or justify these feelings. Snyder further describes pure optimism as a meta-optimism, wherein it is an optimism that reflects on the nature of feeling good, making various aspects of positive emotions thinkable and analyzable. Here, optimism is not about aspiring towards conventional happiness or fulfillment, but rather it seeks to understand and appreciate the complexities of feeling good in the here and now. By focusing on the present moment and its inherent potential for positive experiences, pure optimism encourages a deeper, more nuanced engagement with the present, free from the pressures of future oriented promises. Now, the objectives of our study is to explore the efficacy of poetic inquiry combined with NLP algorithm, that's Chat GPT, plus in capturing and representing the lived experiences of trans-feminine individuals in Kerala. Secondly, we'll also be looking at how to differentiate between human-generated and AI-generated poetic expressions of transgender experiences, thereby evaluating the impact of computational creativity on the authenticity and emotional resonance of pure narratives. Now, moving on to the method that we have adopted, we have gone by analyzing analyzing our data in three phases. The first step is wherein we were developing found poems. Now, how did we do that? We conducted personal interviews with 10 trans feminine individuals from Kerala. And during these interviews, this was personal interviews, which was in one-on-one mode. We delved into their experiences with self-acceptance, incidents of hostility, repudiation, agency, and relationships. Now, after conducting these interviews, the researchers were making thorough notes, and they did a close reading of these notes, which was used as materials for developing the first phase, which is developing found poems. Now, under phase one, there are three processes that are mainly involved. Firstly, immersion. Now, immersion is where both of the researchers reads and reviews the interview transcript separately. The themes that are related to the experiences of trans feminine individuals are identified here. There is emphasis on how violence is often included in their as part of their life, how the process of transitioning is being spoken about by these individuals, how the very idea of gender identity is imbibed by these individuals, and also there is the level of how sexuality becomes a tool for their gender expression, and also self-acceptance, agency, and love. So these are some of the themes that we have identified looking at the interview transcripts. And after narrowing it down, we have moved to the second process, which is coding and sorting of data. Under this step, we have edited the poems, and this is done section by section, and words and phrases are rearranged for poetic effect. And techniques such as repetition and pauses are also used for emphasis and to enhance the poetic quality. Now, moving on to the phase 2, which is integration of computational creativity. Here, the interview transcripts are used as input for Chapt GPT to write found poems. Now, we followed a complete human out-of-the-loop process where 10 poems were generated by the AI without human intervention to ensure authenticity in this case. After which, we tested the purported ability of the NLP software to generate trans-poetic experiences from raw data. Now, under phase 3, as collaborative poetics, the data poems and found poems is shared with the participants. Participants is the 10 transfeminine individuals that we interviewed. From this, the algorithmic samples were also selected, and this is matched with human written poems. So, following an incentivized version of Turing Test, reactions of the group upon exposure were analyzed in a separate experiment, giving evidence that participants succeeded to reliably detect the algorithmically generated poems. After which, we conducted a focus group discussion where the participants reflect on the experiences that are captured in the poems, how authentic it is, to what extent they can, let's say, largely rely on, firstly, a reporting of a particular experience that they have faced, and secondly, how far the algorithm is a viable resort for capturing their experiences. Then the poems are read aloud as an embodied activity to bring researchers closer to participants' experiences and to foster a deeper understanding. Initial reactions and illumination of lived realities found in both types of poems on the participants were noted by the researchers. We discuss what these results convey about the performance of NLP algorithms to produce human-like text and propose methodologies to study such learning algorithms in human agent experimental setting. This method combines qualitative analysis with poetic inquiry to explore the experiences of trans-feminine individuals. The integration of AI through Chapt GPT in phase 2 adds a layer, testing the algorithm's ability to generate human-like poetic expressions. Finally, phase 3 ensures participant involvement and validation, creating a collaborative and reflective research processes that bridges the gap between cultural and technopoetic narratives.
As mentioned by 𝗏𝗏, we had interviewed 10 trans feminine individuals, and those interviews were converted into transcripts. And based on transcripts, we had generated poems, and also we had made AI to generate poems. So this is a poem written by me based on one of their experience, and it is titled Embracing My Truth. And using the same transcript, we had also generated a poem by AI, and it is titled Beyond the Monsoon Sky. So when we compare these two poems, these and many other poems with which we did the same thing, these are the conclusions that we came up to. So regarding the human-generated poem is very personal, and it touches upon very specific real-life experiences, like how these trans feminine individuals got bullied for exhibiting their feminine characteristics, and also how they've started realizing that they were different from others, and how they were treated as a showpiece in the society, and how they got constantly abused at home in the name of their gender, and how they were excluded from everywhere and also secluded from everyone, and about their thoughts of committing suicide, and about their love life, also about the surgeries and the treatments that they underwent. So again, HGP conveys, that is human-generated poems, conveys emotions in a very raw and unfiltered manner. and it follows a more linear narrative detailing on their personal journey. And when you look at the poems written by us, you will see a depth of personal experience and emotion, and it offers a unique insight into the lived realities of transgender individuals, fostering empathy and understanding. When it comes to the AI-generated poetry, these are the specificities that we have noted. The poem includes universal experiences and emotions, and also employs more abstract language and imagery, creating an emotional atmosphere rather than conveying specific emotional experiences. And it also focuses on creating a broad picture of the trans-feminine experience rather than zooming in on the intricate details of that journey. Also, AGP can play a significant role in raising awareness and contributing to the discourse on trans-feminine experiences by providing accessible and personalized narratives. So these are the conclusions. So human-generated poems excel in authenticity and personal experience through the articulation of nuanced lived experiences and cultural specificities, and they surpass AI in emotional resonance by conveying genuine emotions that reflect the depth and complexity of human psychology. So our findings underscore the profound potential of poetry as a medium to convey the nuances of transgender identities, while simultaneously highlighting the limitations and possibilities of AI in authentically human emotional depth and complexity. The process of collaborative poetics empowered participants and researchers, shifting traditional roles and enhancing the representation of trans-feminine people through poetry. Poetic inquiry illuminated the emotional, experiential, and relational aspects of transgender lives, offering a depth of insight beyond traditional qualitative analysis. By co-creating poetry, researchers and participants united their voices to narrate the stigmatized and discriminated experiences of trans-feminine lives in Kerala. Poetic inquiry emerges as a compelling alternative, offering a nuanced lens through the intricacies of human experience can be explored, embracing the participants' voice in research. Poetry served as a potent medium for participants to reflect on their identities and experiences, fostering a deeper understanding of their daily navigations. The involvement of participants in the creation and refinement of poems ensure the authenticity of their voices, reducing the risk of misrepresentation. The study highlighted poetry's potential to engage diverse audiences on issues of discrimination and marginalization, underlining the personal as political through the lens of feminist approaches. That's it. Thank you.